at 7:04 p.m. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence or a moment of silent prayer as your conscience finds appropriate. Thank you. Please be seated. Council members, you have an agenda before you. There are a couple of things that are driving my request to adjust the agenda. Councilmember Dixon has a conflicting meeting and must leave at 8:30. Councilmember Richardson has to leave shortly after 8 o'clock. So I'm going to ask that we move all the correspondence summary and all reports, including my report, to after new business. And I believe that that is, it's a lot of change, but it's a fairly simple change. Are there any other changes that are required?
Mr. Mayor, I would request that we remove items 2, 3, 4, and 5 from the legislative action items, mainly because we don't have a full quorum of all council members present due to scheduling conflicts.
I believe we do have a full quorum, Mr. Henry. Councilmember Dixon has arrived. Councilmember Foe is here. Councilmember Lingua is here. You are here, and council members Mayers and Richardson are both here.
And I would further ask that we extend that these items be removed in light of the current COVID situation, and that we reconvene these items to when we can fully reconvene at our municipality center, and we can be within full quorum of the council in normal session.
Council, what is your consideration of this request?
Is this a motion to amend the agenda?
Unless there's a unanimous consent, then I'll take it as a motion. Is there unanimous consent?
No.
Hearing no unanimous consent, I'll take it as a motion. Is there a second to the motion to remove items 2, 3, 4, and 5? Hearing none, the motion fails for lack of a second. Are any other, yes?
I second that motion.
You made that motion. You cannot second a motion that you make.
So council members, there's no second to the motion to remove these items from items 2, 3, and 4, 5 from the current legislative action. Is that correct?
That is correct. As the chair, I'm saying that I gave time for a second. There was no second. The motion fails for lack of a second.
Mr. Mayor, can I have a roll call for the members that are there?
Certainly. Let's have a roll call. Councilmember Dixon, are you present?
Can you hear me?
Yes. I'll take that as a yes. Councilmember Foe, are you present?
Yes, I am.
Councilmember Lingua, are you present?
I am present.
Councilmember Henry has been speaking and so is obviously present. Councilmember Richardson, are you present? Councilmember Richardson?
What are you doing? You will be in a lot of trouble. You spray that in here. Sorry.
Councilmember Mayers, are you present? I saw your names on one of the phone numbers. Ms. Dixon, are they muted? excuse me, Ms. Barnes.
Can you hear us now, Mayor?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Council Richardson was seconding the motion before, but obviously we were muted.
Oh, okay. So there is a second to the motion.
Yes.
Okay. So discussion of the motion to amend the agenda to amend items 2, 3, 4, and 5. Is there any discussion?
I don't understand the motion to try and amend this agenda. These items have been on our legislative action items for multiple months of meetings. It just doesn't seem necessary at this time, in my view.
Okay. Is there
Well,
further?
thank you for that.
Is there further
Mr. Mayor,
discussion?
respond to that.
Mr. Henry, just so you know, we are on a tight schedule this evening, so you have 2 opportunities to speak on this question. So please make your best of them.
Will this be my first, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so CM2, the rationale behind this is because these are ordinance changes, and in my viewpoint, at least, that these ordinance changes are serious matters for the town, and I hear you regarding these matters were brought up before in special legislation actions, and they were brought up before for other discussions as well too. But I think in light of where we are with the discussions not being completely listened to, there are points and times when our discussions are not heard. We're not muted. We don't know who was seconded, as we just found out that CM Richardson seconded my motion, but it was not heard. Fortunately, I called for a roll call, and that's when she was able to come online, and then she was able to articulate that she did second the motion. So I think these are serious ordinance changes for our town that doesn't only impact us who are the immediate council today, but it will affect immediate council members that follow us in the future. So I think that these issues need to be hashed out in a regular session when we return back to normal. I didn't consider bringing this up before, but in light of what's going on in our current situation, I think that it would be prudent that we allow for this to be, rested, if you will, to be set aside, to be tabled for a discussion when we can have an open meeting with all council members present on our diocese, and that's my vision in bringing this up now, so that we can pump our brakes, if you will, and just give sight to what our current situation is and deal with that one step at a time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. Is there other discussion of the motion? Hearing
Mr.
none.
Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Councilman Lindblom.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, could I ask of the town clerk if she could present to council the number of times these items have been on regular legislative agenda as well as work session agenda, regular work session agenda in the past year?
I think we can ask. I don't know that we're going to get a legally binding, but perhaps we could get an estimate. Ms. Barnes, do you have an estimate of the number of times that these have appeared on the agenda at regular sessions or work sessions?
I would have to double check, but I do know that the charter amendment and the 2 ordinances have been considered. This, I believe, is maybe the second time, at least in between the end of 2019 and beginning of 2020. So we've discussed this at least since I'd have to look, to be honest with you, but I can give you an exact count if you'd like. It's been multiple years that we've discussed at least that group of ordinances and charter amendment. with regard to Chapter 53, we discussed this in the fall in concept, and then we've moved through the process with discussions throughout. So I will go back and check the agendas just to be sure.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Mayor, if I may add my final comment,
Yes, sir.
I would ask that the council, the body, consider that this is not going to hurt anything. Okay, it's not going to hurt anything if we table these items from our agenda or legislative meeting tonight. It's not going to impact our town. It's not going to cause any changes. It's not going to cause any disruption to our services for our town. None of these changes will occur. Matter of fact, our town will continue to operate as it's been operating. I ask the council to please consider tabling items 2, 3, 4, and 5 from the legislative meeting. The rest.
I have one quick question. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
My question is, I guess, can I have clarification as to what further discussion may be needed that we haven't had already, if there's anything specific? I know the councilman mentioned that, you know, we've been doing this over Zoom, but, you know, none of us really know, this may be our new normal. So there may be a very long time until we are back in the building for a council meeting with a quorum. And not to my understanding, I don't think there have been any technical difficulties expressed as to the discussions related to these items. So I just wanted some clarification as to what, if anything, what the concerns are specifically, other than we're not voting for this inside the building. I'm sorry for the background noise. Bless you.
Councilmember Dixon, should I take your request for clarification to be a motion to suspend the rules to allow Councilman Hendry to speak again on this question?
Yes, and I apologize because I started speaking and I said I didn't want to take the councilman's last opportunity to speak with my question, but I was on mute and then he asked his other question. So yes, please, or anyone else for that matter. But if the councilman wants to respond, I'm fine with relaxing the rules.
Is there unanimous consent to relax the rules, to suspend the rules to allow Councilman Henry to speak again?
I'm fine with that.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Councilman Henry, would you like to respond to Councilmember Dixon's question for clarification?
Absolutely, absolutely, and thank you for allowing me the time to speak on this matter. I know it's my third time. I would say this, that you know, I recall in previous meetings, and not specifically to this specific discussion, CM Dixon, but I recall that there were instances when you yourself, you know, we couldn't hear you clarifyly. We couldn't hear you. You were muted. There was issues with you on, you know, previous calls that we had issues with. You know, there's been times when I had issues in listening to calls and you know, and they were very wavered and garbled at times. I didn't complain about it because I just rolled with the punches. Most recently tonight, Councilmember Richardson, you know, motion was not heard, and so I'm concerned about these issues, these subtle glitches that can cause us to make decisions that we wouldn't normally make in an open forum. And I hear you regarding getting back to normal. The new normal may be this. I hope it isn't, and I would say that, you know, I've seen other discussions from governors and other municipalities where they are allowing, you know, representatives to come back into forum by, you know, doing the 6 feet spacing, and I think that that is something that is certainly conducive in the spaces that we have, and we should start to consider, allowing for, social distancing when we convene to perform the duties of our elected positions. And so, I would reach out and say to the TM, these are issues that concerns that and situations that can certainly be resolved. We can certainly meet in our municipality center, social distances permitting. I think that we do have the space that is allowable, and we can certainly be having these meetings in open discussion at 5008 Queensbury. Thank you.
And this will be my last comment, and then I just want to be sensitive to the time limitations that I have, but I understand what the councilman is saying, and I recognize the concerns that he may have. My concern is where the threshold is in terms of what we will deem important enough to not allow a vote via this type of venue. Again, we may be in a situation for the foreseeable future, and unless we're going to set some threshold, and I'm thinking that in light of the legislation that I hope we will get an opportunity to discuss today, where is the threshold as to what's too important for the council members to vote on via Zoom versus waiting for it? It just seems to me that we may start to have an issue in terms of determining what should wait and what should not wait. So my position is we move forward today.
Thank you, Councilmember. Ms. Barnes, have you been able to determine the counts of number of times it has appeared in discussion?
I made it through 2020. We've discussed it February the 24th, March the 2nd, April the 7th, April the 28th, and now May the 2nd, not to include the public hearing that we held.
The public hearing on these items, correct?
On one of the items, the charter amendment specifically, that was, I believe, the 19th.
Yeah.
That was advertised in within state law requirement within 21 days before the hearing, went out in a paper of general circulation and also in the town crier as required.
Okay.
Is
And
there? Go ahead, Councilman.
and these are items that if we are not deciding on them this evening, they would have to be reintroduced.
Yes.
And at which point the earliest we could then vote on them would be July.
Likely the fall, because I would still have to give we'd have to introduce and then give the 21 days notice before the public hearing. Then after the public hearing, typically we don't adopt legislation on the same night as a public hearing. So
Right.
It's at least 3 meetings out, which would put us probably in the fall.
Short of a special legislative session during the summer.
Correct. Yes, sir. Correct.
Hmm.
Is there any further discussion of the motion to remove items 2, 3, 4, and 5? Hearing none, I'm going to do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon. Councilmember Dixon?
I'm sorry, the vote is whether to remove it?
Yes.
Okay. No. Nay.
Councilmember Foe?
No.
Councilmember Lingua?
Nay.
Councilmember Henry?
Yes.
Councilmember Richardson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mayers?
Yes.
It's 3-3. The motion is 3-3. I vote nay. The items remain on the agenda for this evening. Motion fails 3-4. So we are now back to the agenda with the reports moved to the end by unanimous consent. Are there any other changes required to the agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor of the agenda as amended, Councilmember Dixon,
Aye. Sorry.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Henry,
No.
Councilmember Richardson,
No.
Councilmember Mayers.
Aye.
I abstain. The motion passes 4-1 to set the agenda for this evening. First item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The minutes, May 5th, 2020 public hearing and the May 12th, 2020 special legislative hearing. May I have a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion is made by Councilmember Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Foe. There is no discussion of consent agenda items by our rules. Therefore, I will do a roll call vote immediately. Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Henry,
I sustain my vote.
Councilmember Richardson,
The same. I say mine too.
Councilmember Mayers.
Aye.
Thank you. I abstain. The motion passes 4-0-3. That brings us to the first item on the legislative action items, a motion regarding the fence permit request for a 6-foot cedar fence in the backyard of 6101 43rd Street. It's a Ward 1 matter. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, move to approve the fence permit, the 6-foot cedar fence in the backyard at 6101 43rd Street.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Motion has been made by Councilmember Dixon, seconded by Councilmember Lingua. Is there discussion of this motion?
I don't think that the residents are in attendance, and I have not been able to connect with them, but I don't see any reason to, based on what we were provided, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't proceed. As a note, I typically try to connect with the neighbors to make sure that they're okay. I have not been able to do that. So just for the record, my hope is that if there is a concern, that the residents, the neighbors will bring it to my attention or to the town clerk's attention.
Okay.
But I don't think it should prevent this from going forward.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion of this item? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Henry,
Abstain.
Councilmember Richardson, Councilmember Richardson.
They were accidentally disconnected, Mayor Thompson. If we could just give them 1 second.
Okay.
Mayor Thompson, they are rejoining by phone. My call accidentally knocked them out of the queue, I guess, to join the meeting. So I will not call again.
Councilmember Richardson, are you back on the call?
Who's back on?
Very good. We are voting on agenda item number 1, the motion regarding the fence permit. There was a motion to approve the fence permit made by Councilmember Dixon. And so far there are 3 affirmative votes and 1 abstention. Would you like to vote for or against the motion or abstain?
Can you hear it, Mayor?
I can hear you saying, can you hear me? I did not hear an aye or a nay on the motion to approve.
Aye. Just aye. Aye.
Okay, very good. And that was Councilmember Mayers as well, an aye?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I abstain. The motion passes 5-0-2. Next item on the agenda is a motion to adopt Ordinance 2020-OR-05 regarding Chapter 53, the Police Department. May I have a motion?
Second. First, man.
Who made the initial motion?
Richardson.
Richardson made the motion. Who made the second? Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Motion is made by Councilmember Richardson, seconded by Councilmember Foe. Is there discussion of this item?
Yes. A few months ago, I had a Ward 2 resident knock on my door. In 2001, he was granted temporary protected status in this country because of a hurricane that had destroyed El Salvador. In that time period, the 19 years since, he has started working for a large construction firm, and he has been able to move all the way up into management. He's now foreman. He has made a life for himself. He has children that are U.S. citizens in this country. One currently serves as a 10th grader at Parkdale High School with a 4.3 grade point average. And his concern was that federal law regarding immigration statuses was being changed. It was only in December when temporary protected status was extended for El Salvadorians for 1 additional year. The reason for pushing forward Chapter 53 is to ensure, and this is, in this time period, I think this is remarkably poignant and specific. In this time period, we need to be able to allow our police to go into our most at-risk communities and to be able to talk to everyone. And if they are forced to do the job of enforcing federal immigration policy, it is going to fracture those bonds. In a time period in this country where police relationships with individual residents is at a breaking point, we cannot afford to put our police in a situation where they are forced to enforce federal immigration policy and serve as a de facto deportation force. We have worked long and hard on this. Chief and the town manager have referenced this as potentially model legislation. Based upon what we have seen from other municipalities, it is indeed that. So this has my full support, because when it comes to our police, we need to protect every single one of our residents and ensure that that crimes are being enforced in a fashion that allows us to communicate effectively with our residents.
Thank you, Councilmember Foe. Is there other discussion of the motion to adopt ordinance 2020-OR-05?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
I believe that Councilmember Richardson spoke up first, Mr. Lingua.
Yeah, I want to speak on this. The other day, I'm coming from the store, and there was a problem right here on Jefferson and Kenilworth Avenue. Riverdale, none of the officers had masks on. You understand? And I communicate with Riverdale Police Department frequently. And I know this doesn't have anything to do with it, but I think they work well, very good in the community. Especially you're on this side. You understand? Because they know who the riffraff is and who, is not trying to start any trouble. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I had to say.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Lingua, would you like to speak now?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just a general acknowledgement to staff and to Mr. Sussman as well for the effort that has gone into this. I know this is something that was part of the 2019 calendar year staff goals, and I'm glad that we were able to get this introduced and passed at this time, so that essentially it is clear now on the role of law enforcement officers working for the town of Riverdale Park when it comes to, in regards to residents here who are immigrants from other countries. I think also that.
Oh, excuse me.
Go ahead. That's fine. No, go ahead.
Are you done?
I will conclude there. I will conclude there.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I say
Yes, ma'am.
something now?
You have one more opportunity to speak. So yes, please.
Okay,
do.
I'm gonna say something. One thing for sure, if Councilman Lingua and all the rest of the council members live where I live at, they're not bad people, and you understand what I'm saying. I'm deal with these people every day. You understand what I'm saying? And
I understand.
some of them are bad, and some of them are good. That's all I want to say. That's all I want to say. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Is there further discussion of the motion to approve ordinance 2020-OR-05 regarding Chapter 3, 53 Police Department? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon?
Aye.
Councilmember Foe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua?
Aye.
Councilmember Henry?
I abstain.
Councilmember Richardson?
Aye.
Councilmember Mayers?
Aye.
I abstain. The motion passes 5-0-2. That brings us to the next item on our agenda. Motion to adopt Charter Amendment 2020-CR-01 regarding town government organizational structure as amended. Is there a motion to adopt this charter amendment?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Lingua. Is there discussion of the motion?
Mr. Mayor, hearing none, I'm going to weigh in on my discussion on this subject matter.
Okay.
I think this is a terrible idea. Giving authority and autonomous to one individual to hire with consent of the town council, removal of department heads. As this is written, this is a bad decision for our town. This is saying that, you know, while I have the authority to hire, when it comes to firing someone, I want the council to do this type of work for me. It's kind of saying, you know what, I don't want to be the bad person here. I want to be able to appoint, but I don't want to fire anyone because I don't want to be looked at as the bad person in this type of event. So let it be the council that takes the fall for when department heads have to be removed from office. I can find what they've done indiscriminately, and I can bring it to the council, and the council will decide. The council needs to recognize these articles of motion for changes reflects on us. It doesn't reflect upon the mayor. It reflects. We are a governing body of this town of Riverdale Park. Decisions that are made by us and will stick with us and will be carried forward with us, whether we are here or not. And so decisions of this type of consent for the town council to rest and to make decisions when someone else have made the decision to appoint someone for a position of a department head and then to be removed by the town council does not rest well with me and will never rest well with me. But to be said that, you know, I can easily go out and get my brother-in-law to be a department head. But later on down the line, the brother-in-law upsets me and I find reasons to get rid of him, but I'm not going to be the one that throws the rock. I'm just going to hide the hand and let the council decide the fate of my brother-in-law because we no longer get along. So I think this is a bad decision. What we currently have in the books works fine. There's no need for change. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. It works just fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Henry. Is there other discussion of the motion to adopt Charter Amendment 2020-CR-01?
Yes, sir. I feel like the councilman is confused about the legislation as is. It's only with notification to and comments from the town council. We're not being asked to remove. That was actually an amendment added by the councilwoman from Ward 1 in order to at least have an opinion or weigh in on it, or at least be notified with 10 days before the town manager made a decision. So I don't feel like the responsibility is falling upon us to make the decision. I think it's just giving us an opportunity to weigh in if the town manager chooses to remove a head of a department. So I was just for clarification's purposes.
All right, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Actually,
the council member. So council member, I'm not confused about the articulation in which I presented. Okay, if you look at the key capital letters indicated matter added to the existing law, double parenthesis means that there is a removal of that. So, you know, as far as the Article 6, 702 town manager C, the town manager shall 3 appoint and with consent of the town council remove department heads, open parenthesis, with approval by affirmative vote of a majority of the entire council, subject to the terms of any employment contract, providing for severance benefits in the event of removal. That entire language of that body will be removed from 702C3. That entire will be removed from there. And so when I read to say appoint, that means that the town manager has the persuasive decision to appoint someone as a department head, but with consent of the town council, remove department heads. That tells me that, you know, things don't work out, then the town council will have to remove that department head, and it wouldn't be on the biases or the decision based on the TM's finding. It will be based upon what that TM puts forward to the council to decide to remove the department head. I think it's a double standard here. If you can appoint someone for a position, then you should be able to fire that person for that position. There shouldn't be a double standard. And that's where the rub is with me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Henry. Is there further discussion of this motion?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Please do, Councilman.
With what we're seeing here, that it's been amended from previous iterations of this, is the addition of the fact that that the council takes on a responsibility to weigh in on appointments by the town manager, while the responsibility as well as authority for that appointment rests with the town manager. The council is taking on a responsibility to comment on that appointment. As to the dismissal, my understanding is that this is a joint authority and responsibility by both parties, the town manager and the council, on an employee's, as designated here, these positions, on their removal. I think one of the scenarios that we could also look at is, were someone to come in and just wanted to just clean house completely, as would be allowed for, if they, because there's just, they can be dismissed at will under this, that were that to happen on a new appointment of a town manager, the council could weigh in on whether or not that was to go through. And if I think, as has been brought up, should a town manager decide to totally clean house and not have anyone in those positions, or before having anyone in those positions, that probably would not have that much confidence in that town manager going forward. I see here what we have is council taking on some of the responsibility up front, which was not there before, and while still sharing the responsibility and authority with the town manager on a removal.
Does that conclude your remarks, Councilman?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Is there further discussion of this motion? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon. Councilmember Dixon. You're muted, Councilmember.
You know? Can
Yes.
you hear me now?
Yes, I
Okay.
can.
Aye. Yep. Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Henry.
No.
Councilmember Richardson.
Aye.
Councilmember Mayers.
Aye.
I abstain. The motion passes 5-1-1. That brings us to the next item on the agenda. Motion to adopt ordinance 2020-OR-07 regarding revisions to the town personnel manual. May I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
I'm going to give the motion to Councilmember Foe and the second to Councilmember Lingua. Is there discussion of this motion?
Other than never mind.
Hearing none. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Henry.
I sustain.
You abstain, Councilmember?
I abstain, correct.
Thank you. Councilmember Richardson,
Aye.
Councilmember Mayers.
Aye.
The motion, I abstain. The motion passes 5-0-2. Next motion on the agenda, or next item on the agenda is a motion. Did I just do agenda item 5
Yes,
before
you
item 4?
did.
Okay, well, let's go
Yes,
hop
you
back to
did.
item 4. Motion to adopt ordinance 2020-OR-06 regarding the organizational structure of town government. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion is made by Councilmember Dixon, seconded by Councilmember Foe. Is there discussion of this motion? Is there any public comment? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Henry,
I abstain.
Councilmember Richardson,
Aye.
Councilmember Mayers.
Aye.
I abstain. The motion passes 5-0-2. This brings us to the next item on our agenda, motion to authorize the town manager to enter into an agreement with Pepco regarding electric vehicle charging stations. May I have a motion for item number 6?
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Lingua. Is there discussion of this item?
Yes. In July 2019, the town submitted an application to Pepco for the installation of electric vehicle charging stations in a town-owned parking lot. In a phone call last week, Pepco notified staff that the town's application had been accepted. And I believe that the preferred location for our first 2 stations is the parking lot in town center.
Very good. Is there additional discussion of this item?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Mhm.
Clarification on location, it is the parking spots adjacent to the power box Pepco has located there, which sits in the south central portion of that parking lot.
Thank you. Is there further discussion of this this agenda item or public comment? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua, excuse me, Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Henry,
I abstain.
Councilmember Richardson, Councilmember Richardson. Did we lose them again?
Yes. It appears so.
Okay, I'm going to have us again wait for them to return.
No, they got immunity.
Councilmember Richardson, Councilmember Mayers, have you returned?
Yes, we're here.
Okay. I don't know when we lost you. There is a motion to authorize the town manager to enter. Okay, and we're voting on that. It has 3 aye votes and 1 abstention. Councilmember Richardson, you voted aye, is that correct?
Aye. Aye.
Councilmember Mayers, that was an aye also.
Yes, sir.
I abstain. The motion passes 5-0-2. The next item is item 7, motion to adopt resolution 2020-R-15 regarding the Go Green initiative. Do we need a staff report before a motion, or is someone ready to make a motion?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Please do.
No.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 2020-R-15 regarding the Go Green initiative.
Oh my God.
Thank you. Is there a second to Is there a second to the motion?
Seconded.
Second.
Motion has been made by Councilmember Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Foe. Do you wish to discuss it, Councilmember Lingua?
Just briefly, essentially what this is going to allow to do is an incentive program to promote environmental sustainability through the waiver of town building permit fees, including the application fees, which are otherwise chargeable by the town for permits for the installation of solar panels. And essentially, this is for the promotion of their installation. And this would run through June 30 of 2022.
Very
And
good.
this is
Thank
for residential, commercial, and industrial property.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Is there additional discussion or public comments? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Please indicate aye or nay whether you favor approval of the motion. Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua, excuse me, Councilmember Foe,
Twice now. Aye.
Keeping us on our toes.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Henry,
I abstain.
Councilmember Richardson,
Aye.
Councilmember Mayers.
Aye.
I abstain. The motion passes 5-0-2. Next item on the agenda is a motion to adopt resolution 2020-R-16 regarding the redevelopment zone initiative. May I have a motion to from the council?
So moved.
Second.
A motion has been made by Councilmember Foe to adopt resolution 2020-R-16, seconded by Councilmember Dixon. Is there discussion of the motion?
Yes, the Town of Riverdale Parks Town Center area is designated as the, quote, redevelopment zone. Approved applicants of this initiative are exempt from the town's building permit fees and 1 year of the town's business license fee following the completion of redevelopment projects, which require a town permit.
Thank you, Councilmember. Is there further discussion or public comment of this motion? Hearing
This
none.
also runs through June 30 of 2022. Pardon me, Mr. Mayor.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion or public comment? Hearing none, I'll perform a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon,
Aye.
Councilmember Foe,
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua,
Aye.
Councilmember Henry,
I abstain.
Councilmember Richardson,
Aye.
Councilmember Mayers.
Aye.
I abstain. The motion passes 5-0-2. That brings us to agenda item number 9, motion to adopt resolution 2020-R-17 regarding the Ethics Commission appointments. May I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Oh, let her have it.
We'll take that as being motion by Councilmember Dixon, second by Councilmember Foe. Is there discussion of this motion?
Other than the, Mr. Mayor, for those listening in the audience who may not be up to speed on this, those we are approving for appointment are John Wells, Andrea Huberty, and Corey Buford.
And they're also the members who currently serve. So these aren't new appointments.
Okay, thank you. Is there any additional discussion? I will take a moment to thank all of the members for volunteering again to step up to this. This is a very important job. It keeps those of us on the council transparent and honest about our finances and any financial conflicts of interest we might have. And I appreciate the hard and difficult work of reviewing at least my financial disclosure statement each year. So again, I want to express my appreciation for their hard work and for offering to volunteer again to take this task on. Is there any other discussion or public comment? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Aye.
Councilmember Henry.
I abstain.
Councilmember Richardson.
Aye.
Councilmember Mayers.
Aye.
I abstain. The motion passes 5-0-2. Thank you all. This brings us to items of unfinished business, the International Property Maintenance Code. Is there a motion or a staff report on this item?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, you broke up there. What was that?
Is there a staff report on this item?
I'm sorry, which item? That's what I missed.
Unfinished business item 1,
Oh.
the International Property Maintenance Code.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, we mentioned last week that we were proposing 2 amendments to the International Property Maintenance Code regarding signage. We discussed how this was similar to the outdoor address signage that we were talking about for safety reasons for properties within town, so that safety and first responders could more easily understand which property that they were going to. The signage would be for multifamily properties in town. This would be signage posted on on stairs and elevators and also on the doors themselves leading into those units. This would help our first responders and our other safety officials more easily assess which unit that they're supposed to be responding to, and hopefully help assist them in doing their job.
Okay, thank you. There was a question from the council last week about the height of the lettering, and it doesn't look like that number has changed. Is that true, or?
Yes, that was a typographical error on my behalf. I should have switched that. We have made a note of that, and we will be switching it to 1 inch.
Okay, but we're not.
1 inch?
Yes, I thought that's what we decided last week. Is that incorrect?
I feel like the suggestion.
I thought it was.
Sorry, Councilman Lingua, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I thought it was 2-inch minimum.
You're correct, Councilmember. That's what my notes reflect.
Okay, well, we aren't adopting anything this evening, so this is simply providing feedback. And so staff could correct that before that comes before us as a motion. I think that would be the best idea.
Absolutely.
Is there additional council comment or discussion or public comment? Okay, let's move on to new business then. The next item on the agenda is new business item number 1, use of public space sidewalk cafe program. There's a staff report on this, I presume?
Yes, there is. Yes, so the the county recently lifted their stay-at-home order, which previously only allowed restaurants to serve customers through carryout and delivery. Now restaurants are able to serve their customers outdoors through outdoor seatings as long as they follow the limitations set by the governor's executive order. This includes items like staff are required to wear masks, customers must be seated 6 feet apart from each other, no tables of more than 6 people, no buffet style serving, and tables are to be cleaned and disinfected after each use. And with this sidewalk cafe program, staff are suggesting using a combination of a business improvement grant and town business agreements to assist restaurants who didn't already have outdoor seating to acquire some outdoor seating, and if needed, use the town right-of-way to place that seating. The county is already requiring restaurants that, the county is allowing restaurants who already have a permit to serve outdoors to begin serving, but any restaurant who had not previously had a permit for serving outdoors is now being recommended to go through their county portal system. The portal system is currently under construction from what I understand, but it should be finished in the next day or two. The county will then confirm that the restaurant meets all of the appropriate criteria to offer outdoor seating.
And they will issue a temporary permit for the duration of the emergency, as I understand it.
That's
the
correct.
county's
Yes.
program. Okay, thank you for that presentation. What action is required by the council this evening, staff? Anything?
We were not seeking any action. We were just seeking an opportunity to review the program and receive feedback from council.
Okay. Is there any additional council feedback?
Yes,
Mr. Moore,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Councilman. No, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. No, I wholeheartedly support this idea. I believe we need to create a stepping stone from complete lockdown into socialization again. I had been communicating with the town manager and the mayor about this, and I'm excited to see it put down on paper and to discuss this. I believe all of our council can add to this, and I think we should be reaching out to those people or those residents in our wards or those people that we know in the community and trying to pique their interest and see their ideas, so we can be as creative as possible and trying to, you know, jumpstart socialization, to jumpstart the success of our business community. I'm excited to see what we can do here.
Thank you, Councilman. I will mention that in my research on COVID-19 that there are essentially no cases of transmission that have occurred in similar outdoor dining facilities. And so this does seem to be a safe loosening of the restrictions of the shelter-in-place order. And so I'm excited to see it go forward also, as I know our businesses are excited to see it go forward. Is there additional council feedback on this item to the staff? Okay. It's my understanding that after the agenda was constructed, that an additional item of new business was proposed. Is that correct?
Correct. Hyattsville took action last evening in denouncing some of the racial tensions that have risen up in this country over the last few weeks. Well, I mean, the last 400 years. And I had been talking to Councilwoman Dixon about this and seeing that we are a town council that is a majority persons of color, and we are an incredibly diverse staff. We both felt that it was in the best interests of the town to speak out against those behaviors and to honor each member of our community. We are a diverse community, and it led to this. And I'm just seeing it for the first time. I'm loving what I'm reading, but I'm interested in future dialogues about this.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Dixon, did you wish to speak on this since we discussed it earlier today? You're muted right now.
Sorry, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
I would just piggyback off of what Councilmember Poe said and be more poignant in saying that it's not just in the interest of the town, but it's in the interest of the residents who look like me, residents who over the past few weeks have struggled with, I'm going to turn my camera on, struggled with dealing all that we are seeing throughout the country, not just this week, but all that we've experienced. I would like, if I don't mind doing it, or someone could actually read the resolution. I know it'll be on the record, but actually read the words. I think it was really well crafted by staff, and I know I spoke with our town manager earlier today, and thank you for putting it together so quickly. So I don't have a ton of time, but if the council wouldn't mind, I would like to read it onto the record.
Please do.
For the purpose of establishing, someone say something?
I believe that that Councilmember Lingua, would you like to make a motion to adopt the resolution upon conclusion of your reading of it?
I was curious.
Excuse me?
I didn't want to stop. I wasn't reading it I'm going to read it, but I didn't want it to be if others wanted to comment, I didn't want to stop them from commenting.
Okay, well, we can comment during a motion, but please go ahead and read it.
For the purpose of establishing a commitment to policies, programs, and initiatives that aim to undo the effects of systemic racism and unequivocally support and defend African Americans and Black people, hereinafter referred to as Black people. Whereas racial prejudice is most harmful when it is held by people in positions of power, it is incumbent on elected and appointed officials and other individuals in positions of power and influence to speak out. Whereas it is important to understand the history of Black people being bought and sold as slave labor for nearly 250 years, as individuals suffered unspeakable acts of violence, including assault, rape, mutilation, and murder at the hands of their captors. And whereas the town of Riverdale Park is located on land that was previously the Riversdale plantation at which enslaved persons were held, and that the original plantation house stands prominently in town. And whereas the ugly history of violence and discrimination against Black people persists despite the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, and the adoption of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and 1968. And whereas today, as a result of this history, implicit and explicit biases racial profiling, institutional structures, and interpersonal relationships, Black people continue to experience inequalities across many aspects of daily living, including but not limited to housing, education, employment, the criminal legal systems, and healthcare. And whereas the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Medical Association, and the American College of Physicians are emphasizing that racism is a public health issue. And whereas the American Academy of Pediatrics issued its 2019 policy statement that says in part that racism is a social determinant of health that has a profound impact on the health status of children, adolescents, emerging adults, and their families, and that evidence to support the continued negative impact of racism on health and well-being through implicit and explicit biases, institutional structures, and the interpersonal relationships is clear. And whereas the town has adopted a diversity and inclusion policy statement that guides the delivery of all town services and requires in part that all Black people within the town and in their interactions with the town are to be treated fairly, with dignity and equity, and to have their humanity, existence, and contributions valued. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and town council of the town of Riverdale Park do hereby establish a commitment to policies, programs, and initiatives that aim to undo the effects of systemic racism and unequivocally support and defend Black people.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Would you like to make a motion to adopt?
If there are no more comments, yes. I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 2020 R18.
Is there a second to the motion?
Seconded.
Motion has been made by Councilmember Dixon, seconded by Councilmember Foe. Is there discussion of this motion?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, Councilman Lingua, please, Jim.
Mr. Mayor, I know myself, among probably and other council members, are seeing this resolution for the very first time. And this is a very substantial resolution to be considering. And I would appreciate a chance to read through it and be able to discuss it with council members as well. I agree that it is important to comment on what is occurring and what has been occurring. And I would like a little more time to be able to discuss this with other council members as well as residents in town in terms of how we approach this.
Thank you for your comments, Councilman. Are there additional comments on the motion?
Is this a time for public comment or only council comment?
This is a perfectly good time for public comment.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Heather Cronk, resident of Riverdale. A particularly proud resident of Ward 1 in this moment. I don't think I've ever been prouder to be a resident of this town than right now, and am 100% in support of not only approving this resolution by the council and by the mayor, but approving it today. I appreciate Councilmember Lingua's request to review it. I don't think that this is a thing that needs a review. I think that this is a resolution that we should be proud to, that the council should be proud to approve immediately. I think this country has been in a crisis for centuries. This town has been in crisis also for a very long time. And I don't think that we need to delay approving this language. So I appreciate the work of Councilmember Dixon and Foe and the town staff in preparing this. It's a beautiful statement.
Thank you, Ms. Cronk. Are there additional council or public comments on this motion?
Mr. Mayor, this is Abby, also a Riverdale Ward 1 resident, and I want to echo what Heather said, and also thank the town staff and the council members who put this together, because I think it represents both our history and what can be our future, which I believe is part of our motto.
Thank you, Abby. Are there additional public comments or council comments on this motion? I would like to also express my thanks to the many authors of this, many people who contributed. It is a beautiful statement. Hearing, if there are no more comments, I'm going to proceed to a roll call vote. Are there additional comments? Okay, roll call vote. Motion to adopt, Councilmember Dixon.
Aye.
Councilmember Foe.
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua.
Abstain.
Councilmember Henry.
I abstain.
Councilmember Richardson.
She's gone.
Councilmember Mayers.
Aye.
And I'm going to go ahead and vote for it also. The motion passes 4-0-2. Thank you. That brings us to the end of our agenda unless there are additional items of new business. Are there any additional items of new business? May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Are we doing?
Mr. Mayor, we have not discussed the correspondence summary, the mayor's report, town manager's report, finance report, the report, council committee.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate that. I apologize.
I do have to jump off.
I do have usually mark up a paper piece of the agenda to show the changes, and I did not have that in front of me today. So that brings us back to the.
I have to jump off.
Excuse me? You have to.
I have to jump off.
Thank you.
I don't have a. I would love to. My ward report is going to be about, what's going on, but unfortunately I do have to go. But
Councilwoman, do you have time to do your ward report right now or no?
I don't. I'm having technical difficulties, so I'm gonna give myself at least 5 minutes to try to log into the other meeting.
I hear you, but I would love to hear your words. I know the night tonight I'll be the night, but I think we should set aside time to hear your thoughts.
Sure. I mean, I would just say that it's hard. It's hard for, I'm sure, everybody, but it is absolutely hard for people who look like me. Everyone knows I have a little 5-year-old, and I struggle. I struggle with what to tell him. I struggle with the fact that I think everyone at some point on the council and staff has, discussed how cute and adorable he is. But I know at some point in time, not everyone's going to see him as cute and adorable. And I know for some, that legislation may have been difficult, but I can't even put into words how tough it is to always feel like you're struggling. No matter what you do, I can teach him the best things. I can put him in the best schools. I can make sure he does, he has manners. and I can't protect him. I can't protect myself. And we feel like we're suffocating. And I get that everyone can't understand or can't relate, but just imagine walking around and not ever feeling acknowledged. Walking around and knowing that at some point, if you get pulled over by the police, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, simply because of the fact that you're black, that could be a problem. I walk to Starbucks in the morning with my son, and yesterday he asked me, "Mommy, can you tell me the story?" I said, "Which story?" "The story of Tamir Rice." Because my little boy just turned 5, and I have to explain to him why water guns, toy guns, no guns are acceptable for him to play with. And for those of you who are parents, to have to explain to your 5-year-old that a little chocolate boy who looked like him was killed by police officers who didn't realize that he wasn't playing with a toy gun is something that no parent should have to explain to their 5-year-old. And so something has to change. And to be frank, I'm sorry, we get it. Like, what do you get? Like, action. And it bothers me that we can put forth a legislation like this, and I get that everyone wants an opportunity to read legislation. It bothers me that it isn't like, yes, let's pass this. It bothers me that there's hesitation in what is written. I do hope at some point we can get there, and I'll do my small part. But it's tough. And it's toughest for me because I look at this little boy and I know that he could be a hashtag. And there's nothing that I can do. Nothing. And the lack of ability to control that, the lack of ease in knowing that, okay, it may not happen to him, to just allow him to walk around freely, to know that one day I'm going to have to explain to my son sooner rather than later that he's not like everyone else. He's not like every little boy. He can't do everything that every little boy does. No parent should have to explain to their child that they're different, they're going to be treated different because of how they look. And it's a reality. It's not a joke. It's not, okay, you're exaggerating. It is a reality if I want to keep my little 5-year-old alive for as long as possible. But I have 1 minute to try to jump on this call. I hope everyone stays safe and have a good night.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you.
I would like to ask for a 5-minute recess. Is that acceptable to the council?
Yes.
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 Thank you. So Councilman Henry, I'm going to do a roll call just to make sure everyone is on the other end of the names they have in the participants list. Councilmember Lingua, are you present? Apparently not yet. Let's move ahead. Councilmember Henry, are you present?
Hi, I am present.
Thank you. Councilmember Mayers?
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua, are you present? Councilmember Foe, are you present?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Let's give Councilmember Lingua 1 more minute and see if he gets back.
I'm here.
Very good. Thank you.
Sorry.
No problem. We are back in session. as pointed out by Councilman Henry, we are back up at the reports section. The first item is the correspondence summary. And I believe that everyone has a copy of the correspondence summary in their packets. Are there any questions about the correspondence summary or motions regarding the correspondence summary? Hearing none, I will move ahead to the mayor's report. I have not prepared a long report. We're in the midst of two nested crises. So we have the recent killing in Minneapolis, and that is wrapped up inside of the COVID-19, the coronavirus crisis. And it is difficult to navigate these two crises at the same time. I'm an old white man. I grew up in the South in Austin, Texas, and I partly moved to Prince George's County in the hopes that my own children would grow up in a less racist society. And during this time, I'm just trying to listen and be a support and lend my my energy and my privilege to those who are on the front lines and who are suffering at this time. With regard to coronavirus, that crisis, the state is definitely doing better. The county is definitely doing better. Each day I look at the numbers, the county plus the District of Columbia, since the virus doesn't really notice that border, is doing better. And as of today, our zip code is doing just a little bit better. And that's good news. I also heard today about a new diagnosis in our community, and there are probably going to be more stemming from that diagnosis, and I'm concerned about that. So the virus is not gone, it's not over. We still need to social distance. We still need to wear masks. We need to do both at the same time, and we need to be careful. And that's all that I'm asking, is that people be careful. That concludes my report. If there are no questions, move on to the town manager's report.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, members of the community, and the staff team. Just a few things this evening. I want to take a minute to reflect on the killing of Mr. Floyd. And Chief Morris and Assistant Chief Glickson put together a statement, a letter to the community that was posted on our website a short time ago. I believe Ms. Barnes is going to add that to your packet material or otherwise email that to you, so you see the statement that came from the chief and the assistant chief. They're very direct in their words and in their description of what occurred. And we are very fortunate here in Riverdale Park to not only have their leadership, but to each and every police officer that we have that goes out here in this uncertain time, in this uncertain area, in this uncertain world, and they're doing their job. And the professionalism, the dignity, and the respect that I have seen them extend to everyone that I've witnessed them encounter is a testament to the leadership and to their own internal being and who they are. We have a good selection process. We would rather keep positions vacant than fill them with someone who doesn't hold the same values that the town does, that are delineated in the town's diversity and inclusion statement that the mayor and council passed. So I am very appreciative of the good work that our police officers do each and every day. I also want to take a minute to thank the leadership team. I know they're getting tired. They've been working basically 7 days a week since mid-March. And I receive emails as early as 5 in the morning and as late as 1 in the morning. So we're getting a lot done. We're staying focused to try to reduce risk, improve service delivery, and make changes that are sustainable. And I think the mayor and council should be proud of the work of the staff leadership team, and by extension, all the town employees who are trying their best to keep the town moving forward during these trying times. A couple quick updates for you. The roof project is moving forward. That's an important component of the municipal center project. Videos from these Zoom meetings have been added to the town's YouTube channel. So that's another way we can be transparent so people can watch these meetings at a later point. We're still working on being able to live stream them, but that's the direction we're going. There's also, we noted in the last status and information report that town residents or business owners that want to meet with staff, we're setting up we've set up a quick process to schedule Zoom meetings with staff. So not just meeting by over the phone or conducting business by email, but also being able to see someone and talk with someone. We do have the new public art as part of the ongoing public art project. And if you haven't been out walking around town, it's been up for a few weeks. It's good to notice the public art displays. And lastly, and probably most basically, and the mayor, you had said this, but it's a good reminder. Coronavirus is still here, even though things are being relaxed some. Wash your hands, keep your social distance, wear a mask, stay safe, and be well. That's all I have for my report, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Are there any questions for the town manager? Do we have a finance report?
Mr. Jones is online, sir, and he'll deliver a finance report.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Subject to audit is the finance reports for May. For FY 2020, we brought in the town of Riverdale Park, brought in revenue of $311,000. Expenditures were at $421,000, giving us at a deficit of roughly $109,000 for May FY 2020. For FY 2019, in comparison, revenue was at $218,000, which is a decent amount lower than the revenue that we had for FY 2020. Reason for that is speed camera revenue was actually up. Local taxes from that we received from the county exceeded the amount that we received 2019. And the vehicle impounds exceeded what we previously brought in for FY 2019. Our expenditures were lower this year for FY 2020 in May. We had FY 2019 total of $548,000. which is significantly higher than what our expenditures were for FY 2020. Reason being there is that we have been continuing to be very cautious with our spending in light of all the circumstances that have taken place recently. For our year-to-date total, we are currently at $7,323,405 for revenue, with expenditures coming in at $5,550,442. So as of now, right now we're at a surplus of 1.7 million. Yes, for FY 2020, for year to date. So where we stand now, if we look at our revenue, we have actually exceeded the revenue projections that we had previously put in the budget. And those revenue projections that we put in the budget we presented a few weeks ago were conservative. We wanted them to be conservative in light of all the circumstances that have taken place. So yeah, we've exceeded those projected amounts, and we actually expect to land somewhere around 7.5 million for the end of the year, with one more month left. For expenditures, we've also continued to be conservative with our spending, and we're currently at about 85% of our budgeted expenditures. We also adjusted our expenditures for FY 20 in the budget that we presented a few weeks ago. We lowered those expectations as we had planned on continuing to limit our spending to things that we needed. So overall, with all the unexpected events, we do feel good about where we are from a financial standpoint, and being conservative with our projections and being cautious with our spending has us in a pretty good place financially. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
Are there questions for Mr. Jones? Hearing none, is there a motion to adopt the treasurer's report?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the treasurer's report subject to audit.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
Seconded.
Was that, you're willing to give it to Councilmember Mayers?
I think she beat me to it, yeah.
Okay. Motion made by Councilmember Lingua, seconded by Councilmember Mayers. Is there a discussion of this motion? Is there public comment? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon is absent. Councilmember Foe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua?
Aye.
Councilmember Henry?
I abstain.
Councilmember Richardson is absent, is that correct?
Yeah.
Councilmember Mayers?
Aye.
I abstain. The motion passes 3-0-2. That takes us to the fire department report. Did staff receive a fire department report? I did not. Mr. Lestitian?
I did not, sir. Ms. Barnes, did you receive anything?
No, we did not.
I know that the fire department is very busy dealing with the pandemic, and so I'm not surprised at that. That brings us to council, committee, and ward reports. Councilmember Dixon is absent, so Councilmember Foe.
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I want to thank Chief Morse and Assistant Chief Wixons for the issue of their statement tonight. It made me feel incredibly proud that this is our police department. Secondly, I want to echo the sentiments of the mayor. I recognize my privilege. I'm going to read from a statement that I wrote trying to encapsulate my feelings of the last couple of weeks. But my plan moving forward is going to be listen, learn, and attempt to activate into some substantial change. So if you'll forgive me, I want to read from a statement that I wrote trying to encapsulate my thoughts. Yesterday, we as a family watched in horror as peaceful protests in downtown Washington, D.C. were disrupted by the actions of federal authorities. The use of tear gas, pepper spray, and rubber bullets were utilized to disperse a crowd that was clearly within its First Amendment rights. The events of the past few weeks have highlighted systemic injustice that have perpetrated our relationship with African Americans for the 400 years since they were forcefully brought to this country for the purpose of slave labor. It is a relationship steeped in inequality, from the Civil War to Black Codes, Jim Crow to lynching, the Freedom Riders to Martin Luther King, from Trayvon Martin to Tamir Rice to Breonna Taylor to Ahmaud Arbery to Eric Garner, and most recently, the horrific murder of George Floyd. These incidents tear at the fabric of our nation. They are a disgusting look at the inequality that exists and has existed for 400 years of people, or for people of color in this country. As I speak, I am painfully aware that I am just another white male with an opinion that has always been heard. The time for speaking is long past. Now it's time for listening and the reformation of our justice system. I am painfully aware of what it is like when the actions of a few. That is not what I am attempting to do here. As a public educator, I know what it's like to be judged alongside the actions of the worst in your profession. We are in a decidedly fractured nation. Supporting both Black lives and quality policing do not have to be mutually exclusive. But seeing human beings murdered in cold blood, screaming, "I can't breathe," is not defendable. It is repulsive and horrifying. We need decisive actions that provide equitable justice to people of color across this country. It is our moral imperative to do everything in our power to accomplish this. Growing up in rural Pennsylvania, being exposed to casual racism was a common occurrence. I am ashamed at how many times I said nothing in response to it. It was only through athletics that I was able to be introduced to a more diverse world. As a young man in college, I would tell people that I was going to find the most diverse place I could and try and make a difference in those communities. Those places for me are Carl Sandburg Middle School and the town of Riverdale Park. Last night, as I lie awake in bed listening to the sound of unceasing helicopters patrolling our nation's capital, I asked myself, is this who we really are? The painful answer is yes, it is. But it doesn't have to be who we remain. Let us, together, listen, learn, and act in support of humanity. We can do better than this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilmember Lingua.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. As to what Councilmember Dixon, yourself, Councilmember Foe has already stated, I don't think there's much I can add to that, and share those sentiments that you do hold. As well, I would like to commend the Chief David Morris and Assistant Chief Rosa Quickson as to the statement that they put out that I was able to read briefly before the start of this meeting. With that, I'm going to move on to some things relating to the town, that being what is occurring with the Central Kenilworth Avenue revitalization, CDC. They met this evening, and the report that they have, some of it's good, some of it is revealing new challenges that they have, if I may.
Please do.
Towards the good end, regarding their projects and programs, there was an award from West Banco for the COVID-19 grant of $1,500. They also received a notice of review from MD COVID-19 for the MD COVID-19 fund. They have a request in for $10,000. They're not sure they're going to get it. due to the fact that early on they applied to several other funding sources for grants. They received some, and what the various agencies are doing is trying to track who received what, and so that 10,000 is really looking more as a possible than a probable. They did receive a request for documents to be filled out for the $125,000 Maryland State bond that they applied for under the Consolidated Capital Bond Loan. This would go toward the Sarvis Cafe project. As to the GoFundMe Greater Riverdale Cares, the good news there is that they exceeded their goal. They essentially raised $21,695, and the fundraising still continues. Regarding Greater Riverdale Cares, there was a grant award for the Care First 2020 COVID-19 Response and Relief Grant Program on behalf of Greater Riverdale Cares Collective for $25,000 for the restaurant meal program. One of the things that CCAR is now looking to get into more of, well, at least they're commencing now, is grant submissions at the federal level. They are looking to do a grant submission to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Community Food Projects Competitive Grant Program. They're doing this with a tutorial with a consultant from the Maryland nonprofits on federal government grant submissions. They are continuing to do Tuesday produce box distribution. Most notably, Alice Bishop is helping out with that. This is at St. Bernard Catholic Church. This is part of the restaurant meal program, and they are dispensing from anywhere from 200 to 500 meals per week. Regarding the Kaiser Permanente place-based initiative, what has been formed as of late is a CCAR Kaiser work team along with area community schools. What this is set up to do is to manage requests from schools to Kaiser Permanente in a sense that Kaiser has a better idea what the demand is from a consortium from schools than trying to work with separate requests. As well, CCAR is working with the schools to apprise them of various programs that Kaiser has, which they may be interested in. With the advent of COVID-19, much has changed with Kaiser's approach on the place-based initiative. And one of the things where funding has shifted from is the ESOL and computer basics classes, which at this time are, at this point are on hold due to a lack of continued funding. And I don't know what it is, as an aside, I don't know what it is that we as a town can do other than perhaps help CCAR and Kaiser look for alternative sources for this ESOL and computer basics classes funding. As to the Sarvis Empowerment Cafe, which was mentioned earlier, funding has been received from the Revenue Authority of $32,895, and that will go towards payments for the general contractor. One opportunity that CCAR has is that they're pursuing with conversations right now is with a group called the Michigan Impact Funder. This is a group based out of Michigan that is looking to do more work in this area of the country, the Maryland District, Virginia area. There's a possibility that CCAR would be able to apply for low-cost loans and or grants. We are looking in terms of grant sizes or loan sizes, anywhere from 5 to 6 figures. Regarding the Edmonston Road Rain Garden, right now the project is under an administrative review with Maryland Park and Planning, CCAR, and the State Highway Administration. From this, there will be drawn up a 3-party MOU, and CCAR will be working with SHA for the required follow-up behind that. The Chesapeake Bay Trust Tree Program had a Zoom meeting on May 1st. It was with the Chesapeake Bay Trust, Department of the Environment, and with CCAR. There was also a Zoom meeting with the Maryland School of Public Health and Environmental Equity, an opportunity to infuse UMD programs into the Chesapeake Bay Trust Tree Program, and discussions with the Chesapeake Bay Trust and the Department of the Environment. As well, CCAR is looking to renew the Sustainability Community Designation. They're doing this in collaboration with Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission, the Community Planning Department. The draft action its due date is coming up shortly, June 5th, 2020. And with that, I will conclude my report.
Thank you, Councilman. Was there any questions for the councilman? We can go on to Councilmember Henry, Ward 4.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My hearts and prayers go out to the George Floyd family, and it's very heartfelt to see these types of transgression still in our country today. I have a young black male, God's willing and the creek don't rise, will be 30 years old in July. And I would not wish this on him or anyone, for that matter of fact. I see him go out and he likes to exercise early in the morning, and it just makes me very nervous when I see my son go out in the morning to exercise, and the fears that loom of the possibilities that could happen oftentimes overwhelm me, and I have to block it out of my mind. So my hearts and prayers go out for the Floyd family. And I feel that when I see my son go out to exercise. I like to say that, he is my heir and I don't have a spare. So I am very protective for my son. I love him madly. I want to say that, I do appreciate Chief Morris's leadership in our town. He's a visible leader, and he oversees the operations of our police department. And I commend him for his outstanding police services that he's brought and continues to provide us with this town. His leadership, the way in which he handles and interfaces with the residents of our town is just, it's unspeakable. He is just an outstanding human being. And I'm so thankful for him and for what he has brought, the leadership that he has demonstrated. Demonstration, we can talk about, what we want to do, but when you demonstrate what you can do, that's not just talking talk, that's walking the walk. And so, Chief, are you there? Is the Chief there tonight, or is he not there? If he's not there, that's fine. Is he there?
Yeah, yes, sir, Mr. Henry. I'm here. I'm on mute. Thank you.
Chief, thank you so much for your service. I really, you are definitely an honorable, man, and it's always a pleasure to see you and for what you've done for our community and the leadership in which you've provided and safeguarding our community. It's just unspeakable. It really is unspeakable. I want to say that, during these times of crisis, I've lost members of my church that has succumbed to the COVID crisis, this pandemic. One of my dear friends who was a part of my wedding, one of my groomsmen was hospitalized for 2 months because of COVID. He's now out of the hospital and he's doing fine. So Thank God for that. I want to touch bases on the demonstrations that are happening in our beloved city, Washington D.C., our national capital region. And you know, while I understand demonstrations, that's what we're founded on. You know, we demonstrate to get change and to bring about change for the betterment of all. I want to say to the individuals that are tearing up our city, you know, in the voice of my wife, don't tear up my city. You can demonstrate, but there's no need to bring about damage and destruction to, you know, CVS's and the banks and, you know, places of business that needs to survive, just barely needs to survive. They can't even live, and you're tearing up the city. That's not protesting and making a point. That's just being destructive, and I'm totally against that. You can demonstrate, you can protest without being destructive. Please stop the violence in our city. I am proud to be a representative on this council. I'm proud to be a council member for my ward, and I'm proud to be the community leader for my community, the Madison Hill community, in which I serve and I love. And I will continue to protect, and I will continue to look out for my seniors. I will continue to shop for them when they can't shop for themselves because they're afraid to go to the grocery stores to purchase the mere ingredients that they're looking for, milk, bread, and eggs, and the grits and the cereals that they like. I will continue to serve them. I will continue to donate and to give freely for what I have. I'm willing to share and help anyone that is in need of these dying times. I thank the chief, and again for the police officers as well too. Let me not just stop with the chief, but your officers who are doing an impeccable job. Let me not stop there, but for the sanitarian workers that come up here and pick up our trash. I get outside there and, you know, I give them water, cold water when they're out here. You know, I pay for their lunches. You know, I reach out to people that are serving us that you think that there's very demeaning services, but without these people, you know, our town, our city would be in a filthy mess. So, you know, let's not just stop, you know, at the hierarchy, but look at the people who are really providing the services and who can really, you know, just a thank you for your services. If you don't have, you know, a bottle of water, thank you. I appreciate you. You know, it's not always giving something tangible, but it's sometimes just saying thank you. I appreciate you. The grocery workers, I thank them for being there because they don't have to be. They got families and they're risking their lives as well too. You got spare masks, give it away if you don't need them. You're not going to use them all. Help somebody else. Give away the gloves that you have. Help somebody. You know, each one help one. That's what it's all about. That's what brings a community together. And, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, in these times, let's help each other and work with each other, you know, and glue our community together. And that's what's going to make us stronger, and that's what's going to keep us strong going forward. Mr. Mayor, thank you for the time, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Richardson had to leave early, so that brings us to Councilmember Mayers. Do you have a report this month, Councilmember?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. And I just want to say my heart and prayers goes out to the nation at this time. And I also want to follow up on the complaint that I had. Mr. Morales is still complaining about Bates not picking up his trash. Actually, he attached some pictures, which I just forwarded to Ms. Barnes. And he's also still, that is at 5406 Spring Lane. And then we have 5327 Greenway Drive. He also attached pictures this past Monday for the cars that he says are piling up on the grass in front of 5327. trying to find out where we at with that, with those two complaints.
Mr. Lustician?
Ms. Barnes?
Yes. Council member mayors, we have been out and taken a look at those concerns, but some of these are new to me, so we'll go out again tomorrow. Neighborhood Services is out. Both inspectors are out every single day, regardless of the day of the week. So they will be out there tomorrow to take another look at this.
Well, I just sent you some pictures that he sent to me on Monday as to the cars and the parking and what's going on with the recycle people not taking his trash out of the bin. Not a lot of trash, but as he says, he pays taxes, so he wants to know why they keep skipping him by.
Councilmember mayors, I'll take a closer look. Occasionally we have, set outs that may not meet the requirements of Bates, but I will look into that myself and give him a call tomorrow to see what's happening. With regard to the car issue, my inspectors have reported back that they've been have been unable to see the issue because the cars are moved by the time they've gotten there. So I'll follow up with Mr. Morales myself, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, thank you so much.
Certainly, absolutely.
That concludes my award report.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Mayers.
You're welcome.
That brings us to public comments on non-agenda items and consent agenda items, or any members of the public in attendance who would like to speak. Seeing no indications that anyone wishes to, that does take us finally to the end of our agenda and adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
The motion has been made by Councilmember Foe, seconded by Councilmember Mayers. This motion is not debated. I will do a roll call vote. Councilmember Dixon has departed. Councilmember Foe?
Aye.
Councilmember Lingua?
Aye.
Councilmember Henry?
Aye.
Councilmember Richardson is absent. Councilmember Mayers?
Aye.
I abstain. The motion passes 401. We are adjourned at 9:13 p.m. Thank you very much. Thank you to staff. Thank you to council for everything that you do to make this town work.
Be well, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Night.